The all-new next-generation Cadillac XT5 is finally here, but depending on where you live, it actually might not be here at all. Let me explain.
Motrolics.
To our existing subscribers, welcome back, and to those who are new here, welcome. I'm Alex Luft, and the team and I at gmauthority.com have been tracking the second-generation Cadillac XT5 for the past few years. In fact, we were the first to report that this model was developed in China, and now the new XT5 has finally been revealed. Before I go on, I have to ask, if you haven't already, then please subscribe to the channel right here. And if you really want to help some more, then take this video and send it to your friends, post it on your social networks, or whatever automotive forums or groups that you might be part of. Anything that brings more eyeballs to these videos really helps me in continuing to make more of them. Okay. So, the reveal took place on Friday, August 2nd, at the Cadillac House in Shanghai, which is Caddy's kind of flagship destination in China. The debut comes an entire 8.5 years after the XT5 launched in the US and 8 years after it had launched in China. And as such, this model represents the very first overhaul of the Cadillac XT5 in its entire history. But this really wasn't your typical reveal, because Cadillac only showed the vehicle in the sport trim, the one with body color and black accents, and they didn't show other trims or share many technical details. Even so, we know that the second generation XT5 rides on an updated version of the C1 platform that's been underpinning the first generation XT5. Internally, the updated version of the C1 platform that the second gen XT5 rides on is known as C1-2. The new model features all new sheet metal and slightly bigger proportions. Let's take a look at the design first. So at the front, the new XT5 gets Cadillac's latest design language with prominent vertically oriented lights composed of the daytime running lights, or the DRLs, on the outside of the vertically oriented cluster, along with the actual headlights to the inside of the DRL cluster, or the DRL column, I should say. Above these is a set of horizontally oriented lights, which serve as the turn signals or the hazard lights. Both the upper and the lower grills feature a glossy black mesh in keeping with the sport trim, while the lower lip has a prominent shape and some aggressive detailing at the outer edges. The hood is also new, with completely redone surfacing. The rear end follows the front end with a design overhaul, including new sheet metal on the liftgate. A set of horizontally oriented taillights joins the vertical ones, and the bottom fascia has gloss black trim, and actually quite a bit of it. And this is the sport model, so the gloss black is fitting. A set of dual exhaust outlets flank the reverse light at the very bottom of the rear fascia. Now, it's at the side profile that we can see the first generation model's roots here in the second gen model. So the profile has really the same general shape, including the greenhouse and the doors. In fact, the greenhouse has the same windows as the first gen XT5, and this includes the small vanity window just ahead of the primary windows above the front doors. However, the sheet metal on the doors has been redone with new surface development throughout. And the more I look at it, and we don't have that much material or that many images of the new XT5 just yet, but the only difference on the greenhouse that I can tell thus far is that there is a new trim piece between the roof and the forward-leaning rear pillar. And the inclusion of this new trim piece, it kind of tricks the eye into believing that the car has a floating roof. Continuing with the side profile, we can also see body color wheel wells that seem to be quite a bit different, really quite a bit wider, I should say, than the ones on the previous XT5. Inside of these new wheel wells is a set of dual 5-spoke wheels with black accents. And then hiding behind the wheels are a set of red brake calipers, which go hand in hand with the sport trim level's sporting demeanor. Now, this seems to be a good time to point out that the second generation XT5 is not really a ground-up overhaul. Instead, it's more of a more of a reskinning of sorts, very similar to how Cadillac created the CT4 sedan, giving it new sheet metal, a new interior, new powertrains, and a new electrical architecture, while leaving the general kind of platform, the general hard points of the platform, the same as the ATS sedan. And that's exactly what's taking place here right now with the second generation XT5. But Alex, you might ask, how can that be? And that's a very good question, because compared to the first generation XT5, the new one is almost 3 inches longer, 2.1 inches wider, and it has a wheelbase that's 6 millimeters or 0.2 inches longer. So let's talk through that for just a minute. The additional length is primarily the result of the way in which the bumpers are styled. It's just a matter of the styling of the bumpers and the way in which they are, the surface development takes place on the bumper covers themselves. And the same goes for the added width. It's actually caused by the new and wider wheel wells, which allow for the track to become wider as well. So that's an actual functional change. When the track gets wider, the wheels go wider, and that's something that is actually noticeable from a design standpoint and from a stance standpoint as well. And then finally, there's the wheelbase, a gain of 6 millimeters in the length of the wheelbase. It's really not all that much, and I'm guessing here, but it's probably caused by moving the axles away from each other only slightly, maybe 3 millimeters each, who knows. But regardless, the wheel wells remain in the same place as they were on the first gen XT5. So the 6 millimeter increase in wheelbase certainly won't impact things like, for instance, cabin space, or make the vehicle seem more spacious inside from a north-south or length standpoint. With all that said, the added width and the changes to the design really join forces quite well, in my opinion, to give the new XT5 a very different appearance, one that's not only more modern, but one that's also more athletic to boot. And as I mentioned earlier, we don't have the tech specs just yet, so it's unclear what's under the hood. But judging by the badge on the liftgate, we do know that this sport trim level is equipped with all-wheel drive. I do expect to have more technical details, really the complete technical details, later on this month when the second gen XT5 launches. And I should also note that Cadillac has not yet revealed any interior photos, but we've already seen the new cabin in spy shots from earlier this year. I'm going to leave the interior of the next gen XT5 for another video. Now, as I said in the beginning, the second generation XT5, depending on where you live, might not really be a reality for you. And that is because the second gen model, as of right now, it is not coming to the United States. If you want to learn why, do check out the 12th episode of the Cadillac Society podcast right here on the Metrolix channel. And it's there on the 12th episode of the Cadillac Society podcast that I actually describe the factors that went into not bringing the second generation XT5 to the Americas. And I think that's really it. I can't think of anything else that I want to say here. That's it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for sharing this video. Thank you for subscribing to the channel, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Motrolix.